I managed to save another 200 magic eyes, so today we're buying another unique legacy piece in DC Dark Legion, and we're also going to test it. I've been working really hard on my Superman family team, so the last 200 magic eyes that I saved up, I actually dumped into Supergirl's legacy piece to get it to 5 white stars, and I was considering doing the same thing with Superboy, getting his 6 string to 5 white stars as well, and we will work on that one eventually. But what I'm going to do with these magic eyes is something that I've been thinking about doing for quite a while now, and that's buy Starfire's Starbolts. Now, my reasoning for doing so is it's a really incredible legacy piece, not only for Starfire, but also for some of your other champions, in particular, supports who aren't healers. Now, I hear a lot of chatter out there about using Starfire Starbolts with Krypto. I've been using purple ray radiation with Krypto, and it's worked out quite well for me. I have Krypto up to 1 red star, but I've heard that you can actually use this legacy piece on Krypto, and it helps out in PvP. And then I've also heard about using this legacy piece on some of your other supports that need a little bit of energy gain, who can also basically become a secondary healer for your team. Now, if you use Superman family at all, you know that Flash is an incredible champion to pair with that group, especially in combat cycle. And I think Starfire's Starbolts is going to be a really nice legacy piece to throw onto Flash and help him survive. I've had some issues with survivability for Flash. He does have a lot of dodge, but I haven't been able to invest too much into his force yet. So I'm going to give this a shot. We're going to do some testing with Flash using this. We'll also do some testing probably with Krypto using it. So let's go ahead and make the purchase. All right, that always gives me a little bit of anxiety. So let's jump over and decide who we're going to equip it to first. I'm actually struggling with one of the Superman family training simulator levels, so let's go ahead and try adding it to Krypto and see what that does for him. And we'll replace the purple ray radiation. Okay. And just before we get any further into the video, we'll take a look at what Starfire's Starbolts actually does. And we'll probably talk about this legacy piece a little bit when we get to the Starfire Whaler Skip. I'm getting close to releasing that. I got a couple of other ones that are in the hopper before we do that. But this legacy piece is going to give you that static attack percentage and energy gain bonus. If you have it equipped to Starfire, you'll get a little bit of additional attack for your allies. And Starfire is also going to gain attack on her ultimate. But the thing that we want to use this for on non-Starfire champions is Astral Blaze, which is the other ability on the legacy item. It's the only one that's going to work when we equip it to anyone other than Starfire. And what happens here is you're going to get an additional static attack increase. And then when you cast your ultimate, allies who are within 12 meters, which is actually a pretty far distance compared to some of the other abilities like this, will restore health equal to 25% of the wearer's attack. So in this case, if we equip it to Krypto's attack, and we've got his attack pretty high to help with his healing, plus 8% of the target's lost HP. So that's going to be a quite significant amount as well, especially for those warriors and guardians that you have up front. We talked about kind of how this legacy piece is going to work. We're going to jump over to our training simulator and we'll run this match and see if we can get a little bit further here. So this one is going to be 5 Scarecrows followed by 5 Constantines. I was stuck on, I think, 414 or 415 earlier today and managed to get through it. I believe that one is 5 Nightwings followed by 5 Superman, and it was very, very challenging. You pretty much lose your Superboy immediately. You know, I've only got one at my Superboy at 3 purple, and he just doesn't have a lot of health at all. So I've got to really work on his force and see if I can get him a little bit more survivable. But we're going to see how this Starfire Starbolts does, and I'll run it on manual here. So we're trying to cycle these ultimates as many times as we can before we use Supergirl. We should see, this already feels like more healing than we would typically get at this point. The last time I tried this without Starbolts, we were probably half health or worse. So we're getting controlled. We'll go ahead and run that. It should knock everybody. Oh, he's already fallen. So not quite enough to get us through that fight yet. Maybe if I tried a few more times, we might be able to get it. We'll give it one more try and we'll follow. I'll come back here whenever we finish the fight. And so another loss there. I really want to see how this works over in PvP, because I do know that I typically end up losing my Krypto super early. I think I'm out of attempts over there. But the other thing that I want to test on is obviously using the flash in combat cycle. So I think that's the next thing that we're going to test it with. So we'll give our Krypto his purple ray radiation back, and then we're going to equip this on flash. I was using robot duplicate here, so we'll throw on Starbolts. And just for posterity's sake, you can see what my force is with flash. Like I said, I got a lot of work to do here. Really want to get that dodge higher, and obviously I've got to get the energy gain higher. We're not going to do anything right now just because I want to keep things as close as possible to the way they were before. So you can see that I was in first place a second ago. Let's see what we're looking at. Burrito was able to best me there, but you can see that I was able to do about 92.7 million damage with my super family with flash as the 5th, and that was using the robot duplicate. I haven't done anything else to any of the other champions, so we're going to run this again and we'll see if flash is able to survive a little bit longer. And technically the entire team should survive a little bit longer, because in addition to having Krypto healing, Flash is going to be able to provide a little bit of ancillary healing as well. Red Death is definitely a boss fight that I need to do an updated Phase 2 guide for, but really a fun boss, similar to Murder Machine, where you're able to do a decent amount of AoE damage. We're going to give this to Krypto and try to get that Krypton energy up as high as we can here. There are a couple of different strategies you can employ with using Flash. Some people will say that you should get your Superboy ramped up as many times as possible, which gives Supergirl more attack. Some people might immediately have gone to Supergirl there just so that she was able to deal damage to the rifts that pop up. So at this point, our Krypton energy is at full. We can choose to either continue to ramp into Superboy for Supergirl, or we could go ahead and get her energy or her ult all the way back up for the next time the rift opens. I think we'll opt to give Supergirl her ult, and that was a smart move because we have the rifts open. We'll go ahead and pop that, and she's doing 12 million damage there, so pretty significant. I'm not seeing any issues with health right now, which is nice. I think Murder Machine would have been a better boss to be able to do this testing on, because I typically do lose my flash pretty early on against Murder Machine. Well, not early on, but like probably about halfway through the fight. See if we can find Supergirl here. Well, we'll just wait a second. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and give her ult again. Are you gonna do significantly less damage against Red Death than you'll do against the Rift? So sometimes I hesitate to use her ultimate against Red Death. We're gonna go ahead and use it here. Go ahead and pop everyone's ult and go ahead and use Flash. Hopefully that will get healed. Yep. All right. So we're getting a little bit of that healing back. Go ahead and knock out these rifts. If you can't take those rifts out, you're going to take significant damage from Red Death. I think we should be able to beat our high score here. You know, typically, I think we probably would have lost our Flash whenever that last big amount of damage happened. But I think the Starfire Super Bolts are actually performing pretty good there. And we'll see if we can take out these last two down here. Sometimes if you don't do the targeting yourself, she will kind of hit only two of them. But I've found that in general, if you just kind of automatically you let the AI do the targeting, most of the time she hits all four of them whenever she ults. I think if I was paying a little bit more attention, I probably could have gotten over 100 million there, but I think just for purposes of this video, you kind of get the point. We'll take a look at the stats, and you can see that, I mean, not a significant amount compared to what Krypto did, but he was able to heal for 1.46 million. So I would call that a win. I think in the grand scheme, he probably did save either himself or one of our other members, or at least kind of kept everybody topped up for most of that fight. And we did keep everyone alive until the end there. So I'm calling that a win for sure. Now, I am curious about another option that we have here, which is to put the Starbolts back onto Krypto and run it that way. So we should get a little bit of extra attack by putting the robot duplicate back onto Flash. See, with purple ray radiation, you're not getting any additional attack on Krypto this way. So let's go ahead and switch back over, and then we'll go to Flash and throw on the robot duplicate. And then we can jump back in and do combat cycle again. And this time I will get it started for you, and then we'll basically fast forward to the end of the fight. I'm going to use the exact same strategy here for this version. Nothing, no squirrely, any like new strategies or anything like that. I'm going to do it exactly the same way that I talked about doing it the first time, and then we'll come back and we'll take a look at the stat report at the end. We're at about the halfway point, and you can see that everyone's still alive. We're doing pretty well for damage. We'll see if we can ramp that up a little bit and pass the 100 million mark. Okay, so we're not seeing a significant increase in the amount of damage that we're able to do using the Starbolts on Krypto versus using the Starbolts on our Flash. In fact, we were able to do a little bit more damage when the Starbolts were on Flash, but take a look at the healing. So you can rewind back to look at the healing when Krypto had the purple ray radiation on. His healing over doubled, it looks like, from what he was doing whenever he had the purple ray radiation on. So that is a massive amount of additional healing that Krypto was able to do, and we really didn't struggle at all to keep this team alive. So I think that's very promising results. I mean, obviously we were still struggling when we went and did that match in the training simulator, but we'll get there. I think, I don't think that the limitation there is Krypto's healing ability as much as it is just needing more investment in some of the champions, in particular my Superboy. But I'm really happy with this result. I think that's actually some pretty good feedback. I think for one last piece of testing, I've got a couple of tickets left for Metabrawl. Unfortunately, I am in Grandmaster, so it's kind of difficult to find someone who I feel confident I can actually beat. But we'll do this. We'll give it a try, and hopefully I won't embarrass myself. So Moyne is actually a team that I have a little bit of a struggle beating. It's a very interesting concept here, so you can watch it in action. He's running Superman and Krypto, but he's got Batman, Shazam, and Atom here. I think this team really just kind of revolves around keeping Superman alive to do a massive amount of damage. His Superman has a 2 yellow Superman cape, so pretty formidable opponent. I have struggled mightily to beat this. We obviously want to keep our damage as far away from Atom as possible, and we do need a lot of healing. One option is to go with this kind of heavy tank approach up front, which has kind of helped me out with a lot of these fights. The other option would be to throw in like a second healer for the team. I think I'm going to opt to go with this. Obviously, we have the bolts on our Krypto, so I'm hoping that will be the difference. I've lost this same fight earlier today already, so hopefully Moyne won't get too upset that I'm losing to him multiple times today. Let's go ahead and run this for better or for worse, and shouldn't take too long. Obviously, there's nothing we can do here to make the fight or give ourselves a better chance of winning. Typically, Krypto is just going to sit there and do absolutely nothing and let our team die. So I think this is probably further than I've gotten before, but you can see that we're just getting completely decimated at this point because Krypto won't use his ult. If we could get another, Yeah, so we just lost our Supergirl there. Unfortunately, still not enough. Maybe other people are getting better results with better teams. Obviously, I was able to climb into Grandmaster with this team without needing the Superbolts, and I do think that it will make a difference against other setups. But clearly here, we're just still outmatched by that 5-red Superman. So we'll take a look at some of the stats. You can see the investment in some of their champions over here. We look at the healing. Obviously, our Krypto did a decent amount of healing. Let's take a look at theirs. So definitely did more healing than their Krypto, which we should with the investment in ours. Definitely, I would say a win because this is a better result than we've gotten with some of our previous attacks. And if we can get a team that I might be able to beat, we could try again. Definitely not trying Arkaluk or Auron. We'll do a refresh here. Fortunately, with us being where we're at in the rankings, we're just not going to come up against a lot of teams that we actually could beat. Let's see what we've got here. We could give this one a try. It is definitely going to be a close match, but it's definitely possible to win this one. It's just going to be a matter of trying to shut this Nightwing down. So let's go ahead and give this one a shot. I'm glad this team didn't have a Deathstroke on it. I wouldn't even attempt it, but with just the Nightwing, we might be able to do something here, especially with the Starbolts now. You see we lost Superboy pretty early. Supergirl's able to get that first ult off, but it wasn't enough, and we've already lost the Krypto, so most likely going to be a loss here, but we'll see if we can get that, get our Supergirl to ult one more time. Yeah, just not enough here at the top ranks. Kind of a couple of bad examples, but I will say still the takeaway from that first match is we're definitely seeing, I think, slightly better results with the Superbolts on Krypto. We'll take a look. You can see the stats here. They definitely have heavy investment into their Nightwing. Got the Eskrima sticks pretty high, and their Starfire's Starbolts are much more invested than ours. So clearly she was able to do a lot of healing for them. We'll take a look at that. So Krypto did 2.1 million there, and the Starfire using her legacy piece got 2.4 million. Obviously Nightwing just putting in work on his own. We could definitely do some testing on this legacy piece with some of our other champions. I do think, like, overall, if you ask me, whale or skip for this legacy piece, I would definitely say it's worth getting, especially if you have Starfire in your roster anyway. You're definitely going to be using it on her, and you'll get some decent use out of it from that standpoint. And then it's just kind of an added bonus that you can use this with some of the other supporter champions. I think some of the other champions that would be worth using this with outside of Flash are going to be Penguin, Cyborg, Joker, Batgirl, and Captain Cold. And I've seen a lot of people using this on Batgirl and Captain Cold in the respective training sim modes for trying to push forward without having a healer for your Bat family or for Legion of Doom. So actually, just before we end this video, maybe let's go try to beat the level that I've been struggling with in Bat family using the Starbolts on Batgirl, just as kind of a proof of concept here. So we'll throw this on her. You can see her force is basically not invested in at all, so it gives you an idea of what we're working with here. I do have a decent amount of force invested into my Nightwing. He's definitely the wing condition of that team. We'll jump over into Training Simulator, go down to Fog of Shadows, and let's see if we can win this. I really haven't invested anything into any of these champions since the last time that I tried it, and we're just going to put it on auto. This is definitely not a team that I spend a lot of time with. I'm definitely curious to look at the damage report after this because it looks like we're actually going to win this one. Okay, so you can see Batgirl healed 261,000 damage there. Maybe let's just do one more level and see if we're able to push through that. And we'll take a look at the damage meter and look and see how much she's able to heal there as well. So a couple of Two-Face back there. Now, some of your champions that have higher attack pools are definitely going to benefit more from this. They should be able to put out more healing. So I think Joker might actually be a really good use case for it in the Arkham's Most Wanted training sim as well. We're able to win another one here. So take a look at the meters. Actually did even more healing this time. So definitely worth using that one there. And then we can also test with Captain Cold over in the Legion of Doom training sim. Been a while since I've tried that one. I'm not going to do too much gear optimization here, but we'll throw the Starbolts onto Captain Cold here. And you could also use Captain Cold in training or in combat cycle and do the same thing. What a lot of people have been talking about is basically, in some cases, you won't even need a healer in combat cycle. You can just throw this onto one of your supporter champions, and they kind of act as a pseudo healer for your team. Probably work better with champions that are able to do some self-sustain, like your Martian Manhunter, who can heal himself with his crew pendant, or Bane, who has some self-healing as well. But definitely something that you'll probably see a lot of people trying in the future. We'll jump over to Training Sim and see if we can beat a level here. And we are kind of outclassing the enemy team a little bit with this team, but I know I struggled. Obviously, I would have tried to have pushed this as far as I can. Haven't really done much investment into these champions other than leveling up their stars over time, but looks like we're going to be able to handle this pretty easily. And we'll take a look at the report to see how much healing we're able to do. So about the same as as Batgirl was able to do on the Batfam training simulator, but you can see that he's definitely doing a pretty decent amount of healing here, and I think it's pretty substantial, like definitely enough to keep the team alive to be able to win. Let me know in the comments if you own Starfire Starbolts, if you've found any combos that work better than some of the things that I was discussing in the video today. This wasn't meant to be a comprehensive everything you need to know and just kind of like the perfect informational video on Starfire Starbolts. Just kind of a way for me to explain some of my reasoning around the legacy piece, and also just give you some real-time testing on my thoughts for how the legacy item works and whether it's impactful enough for you to invest into. Ultimately, you can see some of the results, and obviously there's definitely some mixed results here. It's not like we equip this legacy piece and then all of a sudden we're just winning everything. There's definitely some losses. Definitely in combat cycle, our scores offensively didn't improve too much using it. I think maybe if we played around with some other team comps, that maybe we'd see a little bit better results. But at the end of the day, it's definitely a legacy item that is unique in that you're able to use it on a lot more champions than some of the other legacy items that are out there, and I really like it. I know I've done a couple of these legacy item testing videos. Let me know in the comments if you find these helpful, or if there are other legacy items that you want to do some testing on, or for me to do some deep dive reviews on. I know people have asked for a legacy tier list. I have one of those available now, and you can kind of see where I feel like everything should rank. And I feel like now I have a better idea of how to rank this one now that I own it. I'm trying to buy all of them, but I'm also trying to invest as much as I can into the Superman family ones. So be patient. I'll try to buy a few more of these over time so we can talk about them a little bit more. And I do have some other ones in my account already that we can test. Obviously, we won't be able to do like a before and after type of comparison, but we can certainly do some testing and kind of show you how they work versus, say, like with Constantine's sigil, we could replace it with the Imp doll or something. Do a run, throw the sigil on, do a run, that sort of thing. So let me know if you'd like more content like that. As always, if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, definitely do so. It helps with the algorithm. You're also going to get notified anytime I post DC Dark Legion content. And if not, I hope to see you in the next video.